Another day, another dollar. It's OTG. OTG helps. Overtime grind helps. I'm OTG. SupplyTheWork.com. Paris Family Praying. So I had did this video talking about MC Eiht, Jojo Capone, Nate Hill, and as I was reading the comments and seeing a lot of things, what I realized is a lot of people don't really understand the streets. And it's crazy how many different videos and different YouTube channels there are that glorify street shit, but never really truly give a motherfucker the true idea of the streets and why those rules are the rules. You know what I mean? And those rules aren't going to make sense to a motherfucker who's not in the street. You could just have half your foot out in the street and you might only understand a quarter of those rules because you're not 100% out there. So you don't really understand how one thing affects another thing. So if that's the case, in all actuality and honesty, what people need to try to do is just avoid street rules at all costs. Because if you don't know them, motherfuckers not coming up and giving you a break because you ain't know. Motherfuckers don't want to come up to you and you talking about I'm a civilian and I'm this and I'm that, and it was niggas not listening that far. Motherfuckers killing people over $5. Motherfuckers killing people for less than $5. Motherfuckers killing people for talking shit about them on the gram. Motherfuckers is running down on people from shit for 20 years ago. Like, if you think that the streets is trying to hear your explanation of why you did or didn't do some shit, you crazy. That shit only works for these big name niggas because these niggas is safe. They got a big enough following. They've made enough money. Some of these guys have really told they are under witness protection. They got police protection. They're big enough in the gang where people are trying to protect them just so they could get moved up the gang quickly. There's a lot of different things why people was out here saying and doing things. But the reality is the street code is very real on the streets. And if you're not a part of that game, if you don't understand that game, if you're not trying to be in that game, then you shouldn't really even comment on that game, because what happens is you start to believe some of the shit that you're saying. You start to think that the way you said those things is the truth. You start to believe that it's going to go a certain kind of way. If you go out here and if you do this, then you could say this, and it's not going to go that way. And it's a lot of young brothers out here getting killed every day. It's a lot of young brothers going to jail every day, and their lives is over because they thought the streets was a joke. They thought they can explain out of it. They thought they was going to be able to let a motherfucker know and say this and say that, and the shit just don't go that way. You're dealing with motherfuckers who's doing some of the hardest shit and the most craziest things so they can survive and take care of their families. You're dealing with people who felt like they had no other way. This was the only way that they could make it. Therefore, this is how they got into it. And once they get into the play, there's only so many ways out. So the rules of just shutting up and not saying anything is the rules of not saying anything, because you don't know who you're going to afflict. You don't know how small and how minuscule what you say out of your mouth, how bad that can affect somebody on a higher scale or affect somebody who's out here making moves and doing some things. So that's why those rules are the rules. You know what I mean? Like, I keep telling these young guys every day out here in my community, bro, stop fucking niggas bitches and you won't have to be scared. Stop fucking posting your whereabouts on the gram every single day, because even though, oh, people do it every day, and because I got this, it didn't really cost that much. Somebody broke, fucked up, and don't have shit looking at your Instagram is looking at you like lunch. And it only takes so long before a motherfucker makes up in their mind, I deserve that shit more than he deserved that shit. And I could work for it, or I could just take his shit. That's street thoughts. They don't make sense. They not supposed to make sense. That's why motherfuckers say it's savage time and demon time. It's motherfuckers out here on their last limbs, on their last thoughts, on their last everything, just making crazy fucking moves to try to come up as quickly as possible. And if you want to be here a long time, then you stay out the way. If you want to be here a long time, then be strategic in your movements. Like I said in that post, I had opportunities for my record label and different things that I was doing to take street money. But I never really wanted to be getting calls 3, 4, 5 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, asking me where did this money come from? Did I know they was doing this? Did I know they was doing that? I don't want to be in that position where I gotta answer any questions about some shit I don't know what the fuck y'all niggas be doing. So if I'm going to get some money and it's going to come that way, that shit got to go through a manager. The manager got to put it in the bank. It's got to go through some shit so that shit don't come to me that way. I'm not trying to deal with that shit. And I don't care if it's not cool. I don't care if niggas think it's corny. I don't care none of that shit because how I came up in the streets to get to where I am today, that's how I got here today and survived and don't have none of that bullshit on my name. Is because I would choose to take the long way and avoid some of the extra shit because I know the street code is real and it don't make no sense and they don't really give a fuck if it makes sense. It makes sense to them in the moment when they come in to violate you. And that's all that matters. So just a little word of advice. You know, there's a lot of ways you could get out here, get to it. There's a lot of things that you could do. Be very smart. Play that shit through in your head because understand, street code is real even in 2020. There's still motherfuckers out here selling pussy. There's still motherfuckers out here selling bitches. There's still motherfuckers out here bootlegging. There's still motherfuckers out here selling drugs. There's still gangs out here. There's still all kinds of shit out here happening every day and will always be long as America is America and we live in it and the poverty rate is what it is. There's always going to be crime, and crime has a different set of rules, and those rules aren't honored by judges and juries and prisons and cops and police and feds. Those rules are made by the savages and niggas on the street who come at and they're the judge and the jury, and their rules make sense to them. They don't give a fuck if it makes sense to you. So comment, like, share, all that shit. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's OTG. We just talking, man. Have a good one.